Good morning / afternoon / evening, everyone. Today, I want to challenge the way we think about distance, silence, and power. We've all heard about the no contact strategy, cutting people off, ignoring them, and waiting for them to notice your absence. And while that may work in some cases, what if I told you there's something even more powerful? See, the goal isn't just to disappear, it's to transform. To evolve so profoundly that they don't just miss you, they can't even recognize the new version of you. Most people expect silence. What they won't see coming is your undeniable growth, your unshakable confidence, and the fact that you no longer need them to validate your worth. So today, let's talk about a strategy even more powerful than no contact, one that shifts the entire game in your favor. Ready? When someone pulls away, distances themselves, or cuts off communication, the natural response from the other person is often curiosity, frustration, or even guilt. But over time, silence becomes predictable. People expect it. They may initially wonder why you disappeared, but eventually, they assume they understand the game. They believe they have figured out your next move, waiting for you to break, to return, or to react in some way. This is why simply going silent isn't enough. What they don't see coming is growth. While they expect you to be nursing wounds in solitude, the last thing they anticipate is transformation. They are prepared for your absence, but they are not prepared for your evolution. Most people believe silence means stagnation, that you are simply sitting in the shadows, unchanged, waiting for the right moment to resurface. But when you use that silence as a foundation for personal development, the entire dynamic shifts. They assume they know the version of you that left, but when they encounter you again, if they even get the chance, you are no longer the same person. Your energy has shifted, your confidence is unshakable, your priorities have changed. Instead of being someone waiting to be acknowledged, you become someone who no longer seeks external validation. That realization alone is what makes the most impact. And it isn't just about proving a point, it's about genuinely evolving beyond the need for their recognition. True transformation isn't loud. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't need to be announced. It is felt. When someone who once knew you sees that you have moved on, not just in action but in essence, it disrupts their expectations completely. They were waiting for you to return, but you have already moved so far beyond that moment that their expectations no longer hold power. No contact removes you from their space, but transformation ensures that you are never forgotten. When you cut someone off, their initial reaction is often a mix of curiosity, ego, or even relief, depending on the circumstances. They may wonder why you left, but eventually, life moves on, and your absence becomes just another part of their routine. Silence alone can make an impact, but it is not a lasting one. People forget what isn't in front of them. They get used to the void. But what they don't forget is change. When someone they once knew becomes someone they never expected, it shakes them at their core. This is because familiarity is comfortable. When they assume they know who you are and what you will do, they hold a certain power over you in their minds. They believe they can predict your behavior, your emotions, and your weaknesses. However, when you evolve beyond their understanding, they are left with no reference point. The person they thought they knew is no longer there. Growth is disruptive. It forces people to reassess their perceptions, and that's what makes it powerful. While they may have expected you to disappear in silence, they never anticipated that you would rise in your absence. They never thought that you would take the pain, the lessons, and the experiences and turn them into something stronger. The moment they see you thriving, truly thriving, not pretending, they are faced with the undeniable truth: you never needed them. When you step into your power, when you create a life that is richer and fuller without them, they don't just feel your absence, they feel the weight of your transformation. And that is something they will never forget. When you go silent, the biggest mistake you can make is keeping your focus on them. Most people use no contact as a waiting game, hoping the other person will notice, miss them, or come back. But the real power isn't in their reaction, it's in your shift. If your energy is still tied to what they think, how they feel, or whether they will return, then you haven't truly taken control. You're still operating within their frame, and that's exactly what keeps people stuck. The real strategy, the one they won't see coming, is redirecting all that focus inward. Instead of obsessing over whether they care, whether they regret, or whether they'll reach out, you channel every ounce of that energy into something greater. Your own evolution. When you stop making them the center of your thoughts and start putting yourself first, the shift is undeniable. Your priorities change, your habits change, your entire presence changes. Most people don't expect you to move forward without them. They assume their absence will create a void, that you will be left in a space of longing or regret. But when you stop focusing on what you lost and start investing in what you're building, you break the cycle completely. You no longer operate in reaction to them, you operate on a new level entirely. This shift isn't just about growth, it's about freedom. The kind of freedom that makes it clear you are no longer waiting, no longer hoping, no longer needing them to acknowledge your worth. That's when the real impact happens, not because you wanted them to see it, but because you didn't need them to. That's when they start to realize they never had control to begin with. Emotional mastery is the ultimate power move, and it's the one thing most people never expect. When someone pulls away, mistreats you, or underestimates you, the reaction they anticipate is emotional. They expect frustration, sadness, resentment, some kind of response that shows they still have an effect on you. That's why silence can be powerful, but it's not enough on its own. If you're still emotionally triggered beneath the surface, they still hold influence over you. True power comes when you take full control of your emotions instead of letting them dictate your actions. Most people believe strength is in the reaction, in proving a point, in showing that they were wrong to doubt you. But real strength is in restraint. It's in being so secure in yourself that nothing they do or say can shake your peace. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about actually not caring in a way that feels liberating, not forced. It's about knowing that your emotions belong to you, not to the person who walked away. The unexpected move isn't silence, it's indifference. When they see that they can no longer affect you, when they realize that their absence hasn't left a dent in your confidence, that's when the dynamic changes completely. They lose the ability to control your mood, your mindset, and your sense of self-worth. That's when they start to wonder if they ever had that power in the first place. It's easy to go no contact, but it's hard to master your emotions in a way that makes their actions irrelevant. And when you reach that level, when your peace is no longer dependent on anyone else, they won't just notice, they'll feel the difference. Most people expect you to stay the same. They assume that after they leave, after the silence, you'll still be the person they walked away from. That's why they feel comfortable in their decision. They believe they know your limits, your weaknesses, your patterns. They think if they were to come back, they'd find the same version of you waiting, unchanged, still hoping, still emotionally tied to them. But the move they'll never see coming is leveling up in ways they never imagined. While they expect you to be dwelling on the past, you are silently upgrading every area of your life. You are becoming stronger, wiser, more confident. You are elevating your mindset, refining your goals, and shifting your energy into growth instead of grief. This isn't about proving anything to them. It's about becoming someone who no longer fits into the life they once knew. Growth isn't just about external success. It's about the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you no longer need what you once chased. The moment they realize they can't place you in the same category as before, they are forced to see you differently. And that's unsettling. Because when people feel like they no longer have access to the version of you they once knew, they start to question everything. The best part? By the time they notice you're not even looking in their direction, your transformation is no longer about them. It's about you stepping fully into the life you were always meant to live. And once you do, there's no going back to who you were. Closure isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. Most people believe they need a final conversation, an apology, or some kind of acknowledgement to move on. They think that in order to fully let go, the other person has to validate their feelings, admit their mistakes, or at least recognize the loss. But the truth is, waiting for closure is just another way of giving power away. And when you do that, you stay stuck. The move they won't see coming is making peace without needing their input. Instead of waiting for answers, you decide that the only validation you need is your own. Instead of replaying the past, you focus on building a future so fulfilling that their absence becomes irrelevant. Most people struggle to let go because they think closure comes from understanding why things happened the way they did. But real closure isn't found in explanations. It's found in acceptance. When you truly let go, not just in words but in energy, everything shifts. You no longer feel the urge to prove anything. You don't need to show them how much better you're doing. You stop looking for signs that they regret their decisions. You simply move forward, and in doing so you break the unspoken tie that kept you connected to them. The most unexpected thing you can do is stop seeking closure altogether. Because the moment you realize you never needed their validation to heal, that's when you regain all your power. And nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer have a hold on you. Energy speaks louder than absence. Most people assume that no contact is about silence, about removing yourself from someone's life and making them feel your absence. But what truly shakes people isn't just that you're gone. It's the undeniable shift in your energy. It's the way you carry yourself differently, the way you no longer move in the same patterns they once knew. People expect distance to mean you're still emotionally tied to them, even if you're not speaking. They assume you're still thinking about them, still hoping, still reacting in some way. What they don't expect is for you to completely shift your energy, so much so that if they ever cross paths with you again, they don't even recognize the person standing in front of them. They don't expect the version of you that no longer waits, no longer wonders, no longer gives them any mental space at all. Energy is something people feel even without words. It's in your confidence, your presence, the way you walk into a room without looking over your shoulder. It's in the way you stop reacting, stop engaging, stop giving them the satisfaction of knowing they still matter. When someone who once had power over you realizes they can no longer affect your mood, your confidence, or your direction in life, it creates a shift they never saw coming. No contact removes your voice, but transformation removes their influence. And when they finally look back, expecting to find traces of the person they left behind, all they will see is someone they can no longer reach. Because you've outgrown them entirely. Rebuilding your identity on your own terms is the ultimate power move. When someone leaves your life, whether by choice or circumstance, they often assume you'll remain a version of yourself that still fits within their perception of you. They expect you to carry the same insecurities, the same patterns, the same emotional attachments. But what they don't see coming is the complete redefinition of who you are, one that has nothing to do with them. Most people after a loss or a breakup try to fill the void by seeking external validation, jumping into distractions, chasing approval, or waiting for someone else to confirm their worth. But true power comes when you no longer rely on anything or anyone outside of yourself to define who you are. Instead of reacting to their absence, you use it as an opportunity to build an identity that is stronger, more aligned, and completely independent of what they once knew. This kind of transformation isn't loud. It isn't about proving anything. It's about waking up every day with a sense of self that isn't shaped by past relationships, past mistakes, or past opinions. It's about deciding that from this moment forward, you are the architect of your own life. The more you evolve into someone who no longer needs the validation of those who walked away, the more power you reclaim. And by the time they realize that the version of you they once knew no longer exists, it will already be too late. Because you won't just have changed. You'll have become someone entirely new. Pain can either break you or build you. It all depends on what you do with it. Most people expect you to sit in your pain, to let it consume you, to let it define your next steps. They assume that loss will leave you broken, that disappointment will leave you bitter, and that silence means suffering. But the move they won't see coming is turning that pain into purpose. Instead of letting what happened keep you stuck, you use it as fuel. Every setback, every rejection, every moment of doubt becomes part of the foundation you're building. While they expect you to dwell in what was lost, you are silently creating something even greater, something that has nothing to do with them. This is what most people don't understand. Pain doesn't have to weaken you. When you channel it correctly, it makes you unstoppable. Growth isn't about pretending the pain never existed. It's about using it to shape a version of you that no longer depends on anything external for strength. The more you transform your struggle into something meaningful, whether it's through personal growth, creative expression, or a relentless pursuit of success, the less their absence matters. You begin to realize that everything you thought you lost was simply making space for something greater. By the time they notice, you won't be the person they left behind. You won't be bitter, you won't be waiting, and you won't be looking for closure. You'll be too busy living a life so full, so purposeful, that they'll have no choice but to wonder how they ever underestimated you in the first place. By the time they notice, you won't care. This is the part they never see coming. When someone leaves, distances themselves, or underestimates you, they assume that time will keep you in the same emotional space. They expect that, sooner or later, you'll either reach out, break the silence, or still be affected by their absence. They assume they'll always hold some level of significance in your life. But the most unexpected shift isn't just your silence, it's your indifference. While they may have once occupied your thoughts, they no longer even cross your mind. What once felt like a deep wound has healed completely, not because they returned, not because they apologized, but because you outgrew the need for them altogether. That's the moment of true power. Not when you pretend to have moved on, but when you genuinely have. People expect you to wait. They expect to still hold space in your heart, even if they're gone. But when they finally look back, searching for any sign that they still matter, they'll find nothing. No resentment, no longing, no emotion at all. Not because you tried to erase them, but because your life became so full, so vibrant, that they simply faded into irrelevance. That's when they feel it the most, not when they think you miss them, but when they realize you don't. Because at the end of the day, the real power move isn't proving anything to them, it's realizing you no longer need to. Conclusion. At the end of the day, silence alone isn't the real power move. Transformation is. No contact might make them notice your absence, but evolution makes them question everything they thought they knew about you. They expected you to wait, to wonder, to stay the same. What they never saw coming was your growth, your confidence, your ability to move forward without hesitation. By shifting your focus inward, mastering your emotions, and rebuilding yourself from the inside out, you don't just remove them from your life, you remove their influence over you. You stop reacting, stop waiting, stop looking for closure that was never yours to seek. You don't just disappear, you become someone entirely new. And by the time they realize it, it won't even matter, because the version of you they once knew, the one they thought they could leave behind, no longer exists. The most powerful strategy isn't making them miss you. It's making yourself so fulfilled, so elevated, that their absence is no longer even relevant. That's when you win. Not because they regret, not because they notice, but because you've built a life so full that you simply don't care.